is there was a recent development in California, right? So earlier this month, right, there was a bill that was recently approved by the governor, right, that actually gives more options for students from this prior academic year, right? So this is specifically for 2020 and 2021. It doesn't really factor in the prior year, but it gives you a lot of different options in terms of how to help sort of stabilize your grade situation if you struggled. Okay, so the options are you can often request a pass fail designation. So you've got like a C or a D in a class, for instance. You can ask that they change that to pass fail potentially. Obviously, like it'll benefit you more if it's a pass rather than a fail, right? But if you did fail a class, though, there are options for you to make it up as well, right? So that's definitely something, and because I can't put the entire text of the bill here, but you do want to read up on it and see how this would affect you, right? Oftentimes I would say your best source is actually contact your school district, because they're the ones who will make the determination as to how they're going to implement this bill at your school. Okay, so the choices could be, right, you can change a grade to a pass fail. Let's say, for example, if you got like a B or C or B minus or C, and you want to just say like, oh, can I just make that pass fail because I want to try to preserve my GPA? It's an option for you, right? So keep in mind though that this is something that is going to be automatically honored by the Cal State system, but it's something that is not automatically going to be like honored by the UCs or private schools, right? So based on what I've seen so far in the language of the bill, they are mandating that the Cal States honor this, and that they're recommending the UCs honor this pass-fail designation and the making up the grades. But it's not a guarantee yet. So it's something that we're going to want to take a close look at and see how colleges react to this and whether or not they're going to be honoring this system of allowing students some form of grade relief, if you will. Okay, now at worst, a student can even take a makeup year if, let's say, for example, they failed too many classes and they're unable to graduate on time, right? So you can add a 5th year potentially, right, if you're really struggling. So that's definitely an option that students can avail of, right? So there are a lot of different options now. It just depends on where you lie in the spectrum and like what you're, like what happened this particular year. Okay, but I think the best source to contact is just go ahead and contact from your school or someone from your school district to help explain how AB 104 is going to impact you, right? Oftentimes, though, this is not something that will be automatic. So you're going to want to go ahead and request, let's say, for example, the pass-fail designation from your high school, and then they will then advise you on the protocol as to what to do then. Okay, but if you never say anything and you never speak up, it's not going to automatically be done for all students, mind you, right? So you definitely want to be proactive if you think this can help you out. Okay, so another thing to consider then is how is this going to impact other students? Let's say, for example, you're already a straight A student. Is this going to hurt you because there are going to be more students who have good grades? I mean, not necessarily, right? Because if they see a pass-fail designation, it's not automatically going to be viewed as an A, right? And remember, like I said, they're not just looking at GPAs in a vacuum. So let's say, for example, theoretically, because now, let's say, for example, there are students who have pass-fail designations or they just go pass, just because their GPA on paper looks slightly better, they'll still be looking at a student who got A's in those classes as being more impressive than someone who has 2 whole semesters now, because obviously, like I think the previous spring, I think most schools went with pass fail or credit no credit, right? So if they see all of a sudden 2 or 3 semesters of pass fail, it's not going to be nearly as impressive as a student who's getting straight A's. So you're fine if you did all the hard work and you basically got good grades, you will still be in a more competitive spot. Okay, this is largely for students, though, who really did suffer for one reason or another because they had difficulties with online learning, or, for one reason or another, like they had, like, I guess, mental stress issues because of the environment or the style of the learning, right? So it's more to help other students rather than necessarily hurting you, right? So I think in the long run, students who are already very competitive don't really have much to worry about. It's not necessarily going to make things harder for you. Okay, but it can potentially help students who did struggle this past year. Okay, so I think it's a win-win for everybody at that point.